Update with Kate. I am your host, Kate Adams, and we have a special guest here with us today, Alan Risher, former LSU quarterback, former USFL quarterback, as well as NFL quarterback, the Slidell Slinger with us. That's what I was told, at least. I don't know if they were joking, but if not, thank you so much, Alan, for coming in today.
Kate, it's great being there with you. You did that Slidell Slinger thing pretty good. You know, that's a really old nickname. You did pretty good with that.
Okay, so since we're talking about the Slidell Slinger, can I ask you, how did that nickname originate?
Actually, I got a friend of mine who is the sports editor for the Century News back in the 70s. And when I was being recruited heavily around the country as a high school All-American quarterback, he dubbed me the Slidell Slinger. And somehow it kind of stuck with me. It wasn't like a huge nickname, but a lot of people referred to me as the Slidell Slinger, being from Slidell, Louisiana. So that's how I kind of got it, from a sports editor in Slidell. Still a friend of mine.
Well, that's pretty cool. I have yet to come up with my nickname, but maybe we can let some of the viewers come up with something.
Well, you don't need
or maybe
anything. You've got Update with Kate.
With Kate,
I mean,
right?
That's beautiful. That should be it forever. Update with Kate.
Update with Kate. Well, it's pretty catchy. That's why I wanted to do it.
Say, it's catchy.
All right, so let's get down to business. One of the things that I want to talk about, so the big storyline that kind of happened this week, well, one of them, there's lots of big storylines going on right now, but Devin White finally announced that he was going to the NFL draft. It was kind of interesting because a lot of people really did believe that he was actually going to stay at LSU for another year. My personal opinion, didn't really think that he was going to stay on, but I knew that however he was going to announce it, he was going to announce it in style, and LSU made an awesome video for him. It's about a 3-minute long video of him just talking to Tiger Nation, telling them how thankful he is to have the opportunity to play for LSU in the state of Louisiana. Did you get a chance to see that video?
No, I did not, actually.
Well, I was going to have it, but LSU's got that video, I think, on lockdown because I couldn't find it anywhere.
You probably couldn't afford it either.
Yeah,
so
probably couldn't. But what are your thoughts on Devin White declaring for the draft? Did you think he was going to, or what did you think about it?
Of course. I don't know who thought that he might not. I want to know who these people are, by the way. No, but he was going to go into the draft. I mean, let's face it, some of the, in quote, NFL experts have him rated maybe as the number 3 overall prospect in the draft. So there's no chance you're going to come back and play your senior year with that kind of guarantee of money, with the possibility of getting hurt and all that kind of stuff. So no, Devin White's gone. He's had a great career at LSU, and go grab the money, son. That's where it's at.
I know, go grab the money. I mean, look, he's got a child. I don't think he's not married or anything yet, but he definitely has a child. You've got to be able to take care of your family, and I'm sure he wants to take care of his mom and other people in his family. And look, you know that he's going to be guaranteed some good money as opposed to if he would have stayed another year. And yeah, he could have got that insurance policy, but what if he would have got hurt? That's all he would have ever received, as opposed to what he'll probably get being a first-round draft pick in the NFL.
His draft stock will not be any higher now than it would be next year. I mean, this is the highest it's going to be, okay? He's had a great year. He's in great health. He's a good football player. He's helped LSU win a bunch of football games. It's time for Devin White to go.
I agree. I know, look, he played in the Fiesta Bowl, which I thought was huge of him. He didn't have to do that because Greedy Williams decided he was going to sit out because he didn't want a chance injury, you know?
Can I talk about that? Do you mind?
Can. No, I would love for you to comment on it.
I got a real problem with that. Kids having the ability to make a decision based upon their own personal whatever they want to do versus what's good for the university. And, you know, you can get hurt right now falling off the front step of scoreboards here, okay? So Devin White, to his credit, goes out with his teammates, plays a phenomenal game. They win a huge game against the University of Central Florida. I got problems now with the NCAA allowing guys just to make these kind of decisions to say, you know what, it's about me. It ain't about my team anymore. It's not about the ticket holders. It's not about the fans. It's not about the university who's giving me an opportunity to get an education. I don't think they should allow that personally, and I wish there would be some kind of a committee or something put together at the NCAA to start talking about this, because I just don't think it's the right thing for these young men to do, just to individually say, you know what, I'm not going to play in this bowl game.
I can see that point of view. I don't know, I guess, where I stand. I might actually be on the opposite end of the spectrum, because they do work hard that whole time. I get where Greedy was coming from. Now, I didn't like the way that he did it because he tweeted out that he was entering the draft before he even told Coach O. So Coach didn't even know 100% yet whether or not he was going to enter the draft, and he tells the whole world before he even tells Coach, and you want to know how Coach finds out? Coach finds out while he's in a presser. I mean, I thought that was pretty tacky of Greedy. I'm not going to lie. I love Greedy. He's a wonderful player. He's a great guy. I've got to interview him several times. I don't really like the way he did it, but when you are talking about your future now, other guys, if you're going to a playoff game, hopefully going to the national championship, they would have played. Now, we were in a New Year's Six
So now
bowl.
what we're saying is, Kate, that the other bowl games are irrelevant other than the 2 playoff games. That's what you're trying to say,
Well,
right? It doesn't mean anything to the LSU fans that spent thousands of dollars going to Arizona for the game to see LSU's best players play. And then you're going to have somebody like Greedy say, nah, I ain't going to play this week.
Well,
I don't agree with it
Yeah.
personally, okay?
well, you know.
But enough said.
No, well, I think you make a great point because there should be something, but I also think the playoffs, they should expand the playoff system. I think the 4-team playoff, it's kind of silly. I think it should be a larger playoff system. Do you agree with that? Would you do something differently than the way that college football playoffs are going right now?
Well, I think the only problem with the playoff, you got 5 big conferences, okay? And if you've got 5 conference champions, to me, I would think that if you play all year, you win your conference championship, you ought to be in some sort of a playoff. With 3 at-large bids being Notre Dame and 2 other Central Florida types that might be able to get into things. So yeah, I think that's coming at some point. Are the presidents and the administration and everybody ready for this? 2 extra games? I don't know. You know, I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to be playing college football into February with the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know. You know, I mean, that's the decision these people are going to have to make. But it's all about the almighty dollar. If ABC, CBS, ESPN all get together and say, yeah, let's have 2 more college football games, then I'm sure it's going to be something that comes to fruition. Will that happen next year, this year, 5 years? I don't know, but I think it's coming down the pipe here sooner or later.
It probably will happen at some point down the road. I don't know how soon, but talking about dollars, so Clemson just made their way to the White House to meet the president and have dinner. Well, you know, what's going on with the government right now, we're in a big government shutdown, so President Trump decided that he was going to serve all the Clemson players some McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and just to top it all off, they've got the silver platters in the White House. They're like lighting the candles, silver platters with Burger King sandwiches on it. And he paid for it out of pocket because we're in the government shutdown, which I'm sure President Trump didn't really have any issues paying for that because we all know his status money-wise. But Reggie Bush tweeted out he had a huge problem with it. He just couldn't believe. He thought it was a big slap in the face to Clemson in the national championship team that you're going to travel to the White House and you're going to eat McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's. But look, President Trump tweeted out, he said, look, we ordered 1,000 or they ordered over 1,000 hamburgers. They were all gone by the end of the dinner. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that whole scenario.
Reggie, let's get a sense of humor, right? I mean, come on. Are we really going to make a political deal or a big deal out of President Trump kind of, you know, I think he took the moment to kind of have a little fun with the situation with Clemson. It looked like all the guys were having a great time at the White House and, you know, with the government shut down. I mean, hey, you can't fund a good meal if you can't fund the wall, right, Kate? I mean, come on. So, I mean, if President Trump really wanted to come out of pocket and buy a few cheeseburgers, I mean, more power to him. I thought it was kind of a fun deal, but, you know, who knows? Reggie White obviously is a little bit more popular on Twitter than Alan Risher, that's for sure.
Well, what I like, have you ever watched the movie Forrest Gump? I'm sure you have.
Several times, yes.
You know, when Forrest when Forrest Gump is at the White House and he drinks those 15 Dr. Peppers and then he goes to meet the president and he's like, I got to pee, Mr. President. Every time I think about that, it makes me laugh. And look, it seems like Clemson and Dabo Swinney and all the it seems like they actually really enjoyed it, even though it might have been McDonald's. They could eat as many hamburgers as they possibly could want, as many chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Someone was asking, they said, why didn't they have Raising Cane's there? I guess they don't have a Raising Cane's in Washington, D.C. So,
maybe not,
that's why on that. Look, guys, we've got to take a quick break. We are here at Scoreboards. This is literally the best place to come watch all the games. They've got a TV in every single corner, so you can watch multiple games at once. They've got great tailgate-style food. They've also got food that isn't tailgate style, like chicken Alfredo. They've got some shrimp and corn bisque, some really great items. So this is the place that you've got to come and try everything out. We are here at Scoreboards. It's right off Coursey and Airline. The address is 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Come out and see us. We've got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
Okay.
Your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I'll program the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach? Mm-hmm. Told you.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
With Kate. I'm your host, Kate Adams. We have Alan Risher, former LSU quarterback, USFL, and NFL quarterback with us.
It's hard to spell all those letters out.
It is.
I've been in every league that was ever imagined.
I know. That's a lot of letters.
Even spent a little time in the CFL.
Wow.
So you didn't know that,
yeah,
did you?
I didn't know all that one.
Training camp here or there, a couple practices,
Yeah. I did a quick Google lookup.
Did you really?
Yeah,
you Googled me today?
Yeah, I did
What
Google
all
you.
came up interesting?
Wonderful things. It was all positive things.
Thank you for saying that.
Isn't it? It's weird that now you can go on Google, and this is so off topic, but you can just go and just start Googling things now. You can Google me.
I don't know.
Who knows what comes up with? Hopefully, Sports Update with Kate comes up when you Google that. All right, got a little off topic, but we'll get back on topic right now. All right, another thing we were talking college football a little bit, but Senior Bowl coming up next week in Mobile, Alabama. It's such a great opportunity for some guys who maybe didn't have as high of draft stock to make their draft stock higher. We've got 3 guys from LSU, Garrett Brumfield, Foster Morrow, and John Battle that's going to be there. Now, we were just talking off air for a little bit. You were telling me that you were actually captain of the Senior Bowl back in the day. So tell me a little bit about your experience with that.
Captain of the South Squad, 1983 Senior Bowl. Bum Phillips was the coach of the South, who at that time was the coach of the Saints. And we played the North, who was quarterbacked by Dan Marino.
Wow.
And Tom Ramsey. And unfortunately, we got beat 14-6 in a real barn burner. The weather was cold, like it always is in Mobile that time of year. It was kind of damp, but it was a great experience. First professional paycheck. I think they paid us, the losing team got $2,000 and the winning team got $2,500, which in 1983 for a 21-year-old lad, that was a lot of money. So we had a good time, and I didn't have a great week of practice. Back in the old days, we used the old NFL football at LSU when I was there. We put a little stripe on the old NFL ball. Well, if you went to the Senior Bowl, they played with a Wilson football, and the thing looked like a watermelon that just came out of a watermelon patch. And it was so hard for me to throw, Kate. And I had a tough week of practice. I didn't look too good, and most of my draft stock went this way.
So
it can go either way.
It can go either way, yeah. Well, what I think is kind of interesting about the Senior Bowl is, so it's in Mobile, Alabama. That's actually where I'm from. But it's so interesting because they bring in all the NFL coaches and all the college coaches from all over the nation, and they're all coming to Ladd-Peebles Stadium, which is actually where my high school played football games at because we didn't have an actual stadium. But it's just so interesting. You've also got NFL Network there, and just all this stuff happening in this one spot just for that 1 week. How important is the Senior Bowl for some players to really help improve their draft stock?
Well, I think it's important. I mean, the All-Star games, there used to be a ton. There used to be the East-West Shrine game. There was the Blue-Gray game in Montgomery. There was all kind of postseason All-Star games for college players back in the 70s and 80s and 60s. But now, you know, with the advent of the NFL Combine being so big now and being televised and all these players going to the Combine trying to show their skills, actually playing in a game, and that really doesn't mean that much anymore, I don't believe. It's that week of practice prior to the game where NFL scouts and stuff can get a good read on what they think you might be doing as far as interaction with your teammates on the field and how you handle yourself. I think that goes a little further, you know, to see what kind of guy you are, and I'm sure they do some personal skill tests and all kind of stuff there at the Senior Bowl to find out really what kind of guy you are, because that's very important these days, as we know that you want to get good human beings on your football team and not guys that are going to give you problems.
That's a very good point. You want to have the whole package. You can be a great athlete, but it means even more if you're a great athlete and you're a great person.
Well, I think over the course of years from the time I was playing, I just think there's some more outgoing me personality kind of folks out there now, and so you want to identify them. It's not that they can't be good teammates at some point, but you really want to know what a guy's all about before you're going to draft him in the 1, 2, or 3 rounds. I mean, these guys have got to make football teams. Even though they might look good in practice, they could be a cancer in the locker room at some point, and that's what you got to try to find out.
That's a great point. Well, okay, and I want to touch on that, but a little later on in the show. So another guy who's well, we can touch on it now.
No.
Let's
it's
touch
your
on it now,
show,
because
Kate.
what I was going to touch on was earlier this season, and we'll talk Saints, but we're going to come back. We'll talk Saints right now for a second. Saints picked up Dez Bryant, known to be a big problem with coaches and other players. Now, and then they pick up Brandon Marshall, kind of had the same thing. Now, Dez Bryant or Brandon Marshall never ended up really getting to play because both of them got hurt.
Yep.
So, but the Saints really, they showed homage to him, even by throwing up the X after a touchdown in one of the games right after he got picked up. What do you think it was about the Saints? How are they able to be so accepting for guys like that are known to be cancerous to a locker room and that sort of thing?
Well, I think you got to look at the respect that Sean Payton probably has shown as a coach by other players. I mean, you look at a lot of cast-offs that go to New England. You never really hear anybody giving Bill Belichick a problem when he's a bad guy in another locker room, because when you come to New England, there's already a sense of winning, there's a sense of respect. You're not going to do anything to make a fool of yourself in front of Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, would you? I mean, I wouldn't. So Dez Bryant stepping into the Saints, knowing he's going to be on a good football team, a lot of respect for Sean Payton and the teammates and the winning that the New Orleans Saints have done over the past several years. You know, I think if you go into a winning situation, there's a greater chance you're not really going to show yourself off as an individual as much as you would go into a loser's locker room. I think that's got a lot to do with it.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, you've been in this business for a while, so have you met Sean Payton? I assume you probably have.
Actually, I have not. He's one guy I've not actually personally met. You know, he's a little younger than me. He played quarterback at Eastern Illinois back in the days, and he's a little bit after me, but I don't know Sean Payton personally, no.
Well, I have had the chance to interview Sean Payton, and I will tell you, he is one of the most intimidating people that I have ever been around. It's like when he walks into a room, he's got this presence about him.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is about him that makes him that way, or makes coaches like him or Bill Belichick have that?
It's called charisma. It's the way you handle yourself. It's the respect automatically that you receive from the players in that locker room. And plus the fact, too, it doesn't hurt that he's got a track record that he's probably one of the top 5 play callers and offensive minds in the last 30 years in the NFL. I mean, he's been that good as far as what he does in his trade. So when you can walk around like that, he doesn't run his mouth a lot, you know, he's just one of these guys that goes about his business and gets results. A lot of people respect that, and he carries himself like that, and that's why he's been as successful as he has been.
I agree with that. And talking about play calling,
Kate
the
agree
Saints,
with that.
Yeah, I did actually. So we can disagree and agree on some things, you know. So I want to talk a little bit about play calling since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
The Saints have been able to use tons of different play calls this year, but one guy they've used in a lot of different play calls, Taysom Hill. He's like the Swiss Army knife for the Saints. You can use him in all different types of ways. I mean, is it just because Taysom Hill is just decent at almost every single position, or what, is it something about him that makes him unique? Is it something about Sean Payton, the combination of the play calling and the guy? What is it?
I think, first of all, for Taysom Hill, it's attitude. I mean, he knows that he's not great at anything, but his effort and his ability to be good at a lot of things. I mean, he was a pretty good college quarterback at BYU, okay? I mean, let's not forget that he played quarterback at BYU, which, you know, that's no easy task to do. So you play major college football at a Division I school, and then he can run, he's kind of big, he can actually throw the ball a little bit, he's smart. I mean, you put all the combination together. He plays on punt team, you know, the fake punt on Sunday. I mean, they put him in a position for success, but he's got a lot of skills that are not great, but good. And Sean Payton recognized that early on. They can use a roster spot as him as a backup quarterback without having to carry 3 quarterbacks. And, you know, he's just a good all-around player. I mean, I think every team probably needs a Taysom Hill. I think Sean Payton may have started a little bit of a trend in the NFL that a lot of other teams might start looking for a guy like Taysom Hill.
They probably will, honestly, because anytime you see Taysom Hill in the lineup, you really never know what you're going to expect. I even feel like they just throw him in there sometimes just to do nothing,
Yeah,
just to kind of throw teams off. But, I mean, how about that pass that he threw that would have been a touchdown if they wouldn't have got the penalty to Kamara in last week's game? Breeze was struggling the whole time, and then Hill chunks out a 46-yarder to Kamara for a touchdown that then gets called back. I mean,
Yeah,
he's showing off pretty good.
Yeah, that's the beauty of his skill set. I mean, he can run, he can throw it. I mean, playing quarterback at BYU, he's got a lot of skill set, Kate. And I think Sean Payton recognized that in training camp to say, you know what, we can run this wildcat kind of offense with him. We can throw him out there as a receiver, maybe do a backward pass, let him throw. Just more things that a defense has to prepare for during the week, because there is limited time for preparation. Everybody thinks, you know, the NFL's got hours upon hours of preparation, practice. It really doesn't work like that. So if you can make the other team just start thinking about, hey, when this guy gets on the field, we may have to worry about X, Y, Z, this, that, and the other thing. It just adds more thoughts out there and opens the opportunity up for a bigger play.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, so did you watch this past week's game with the Saints? I'm assuming that you did.
Yeah, I watched most of it. Not every down, but most of it, yeah.
So the Saints had a bye week. They basically were off for 2 weeks. Then when they played the Panthers before that, a lot of the starters sat out. Did you feel like kind of starting off, because Eagles started off really strong, scored on their first 2 drives, but then that was all they scored, thankfully.
Right.
So we were able to come out with the win. But do you think that rest almost made the Saints a little rusty?
It's possible. You know, sometimes you get a little stale. You start, you know, thinking, reading what they used to say, newspaper clippings of how good you are. You're the #1 seed, and we beat Philadelphia 48-7, and, you know, that's not going to be much of a problem. But it is a problem. It's pro football. Everybody in the league can play, okay? Any given Sunday, the old phrase that on any given Sunday, anything can happen in pro football. So it didn't surprise me. The Eagles have been on a little bit of a roll the last 4 or 5 weeks. They had momentum. They came out and jumped out to a 14-0 lead. And I tell you, really, the 2 4th downs that Sean Payton had the guts to go for really kind of turned the game around, because if he does punt from their own 30 and Philadelphia gets the ball, gets a field goal before halftime or whatever it might have been, 17-0 may have been too big of a mountain to climb. But they go down, score a touchdown, go for it on 4th down, 14-7, whole new ball game. And let's be honest, though, the Saints got a little lucky. Jeffrey, I can't remember. Alshon Jeffrey, you know, drops the football. How many times is that going to happen? 1 in a gazillion. So, you know, you got to be a little fortunate, got a break there at the end of the game.
Talking about that play, so this is where my thoughts are. I don't feel like, now that was really bad that he missed that catch, and that I'm so glad that Lattimore intercepted it. But look, do you really think it comes all down to one play? I mean, isn't it the whole game? It's the whole 60 minutes that maybe if your team did this, that, and that, differently. I always feel bad for the players, even the kickers like Cody Parkey and the Bears came in, Alshon Jeffrey in this past game. I feel kind of bad for those players. Now, granted, it is their career and it is their job, and they are expected to make these plays and make things happen. But we're all human. We all make mistakes. None of us are going to be 100% all the time. So do you agree with it all boils down to that one play, or do you think it's really about the whole 60 minutes?
Well, generally speaking, there's about 2 or 3 plays in a football game that's going to make the difference in the game. That just happened to be one of them, unfortunately. I mean, if Lutz makes the field goal, the 52-yarder before Philadelphia gets the ball, really the game's over because it's a 9-point game. I mean, Philadelphia can't score, get the ball back, not enough time for all that to happen. So you can look at that as a blown opportunity. And then you got to look at Alshon Jeffrey's drop as another cost Philadelphia the game. And in retrospect, there are plays in the game that are going to cost you the football game. I mean, you could look at the couple of interceptions. I mean, the interception that Foles threw when it was 14-0. He don't throw that interception on 3rd down and they go down and score something. It's 21-0. It's hard to come back in pro football from 21-0 down on a good football team. So there's just a lot of things that happen in the game, 2 or 3 plays that really make the difference in the game. And, for Jeffrey to drop the football after the kind of game he was having and the season he had was pretty kind of shocking that it happened the way it happened. The ball just bounced the right way for the Saints.
It really did. I mean, you just saw him just fall on the field, and I can't. And then all the Saints players run out and just are celebrating. I can't imagine that must be the worst feeling in the world. Did you ever have any moments like that or anything?
I blew a few football games in my career, yes, and you take it personally. I mean, it took me at least a week in a lot of cases to get over very bad plays, especially playing quarterback. You got the ball in your hand all the time. You can make the difference in the game. And if you screw it up, throw a costly interception or fumble the ball, I mean, it falls onto you. And that play fell onto Jeffrey. I mean, he dropped the football. I mean, it would have been a touchdown or anything, but it probably would have been 3rd and 2, maybe 3rd and 1. 2 plays to probably pick up 2 yards and run the clock out and maybe score a touchdown and win the game. So it really cost him the football game.
I can't even imagine how it would be these days with social media.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about taking it hard. I mean, then you've got all the trolls and all the haters on there really telling you how they feel and how terrible they think you are. How do you think players, do you think you just block out all the noise and you don't even look at that stuff when it comes to something like that?
You know what? We're all human beings. We all want to see our name in the paper. We all want to see our name on TV. And you're going to see this stuff in social media. I am so glad I came along before all of that stuff, really, Kate, because, talk radio, it just kind of got into vogue just a little bit back in the 80s, not much. And it was talked about quite a bit about, quarterbacks and rest yours this and rest yours that. And it's a tough gig, I mean, but if you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. That's what it's all about,
Exactly.
That's what happens.
I like that saying right there. Okay, guys. Well, we are going to take a quick break. We are here at Scoreboards. You've got to come out here and see us. I actually have my show every Tuesday, so come out and watch it live. It's right off of Coursey and Airline, so close to the interstate if you need to get anywhere. The address is 10655 Coursey Boulevard. They've got a big sign out front that says Scoreboards. This is the best place to come and watch all the games. They've literally got, I'm counting like at least 10 TVs right now. So they've got all the games on. They've got great food, great bread pudding. This is really the spot. It's the hot spot. Look, Saints are doing well. Come out and watch them. We're here at Scoreboards. We've got to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at Scoreboards, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
Told you.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Welcome back, guys. Sports Update with Kate. I am Kate Adams. We've got former LSU quarterback, USFL quarterback, NFL quarterback, the Slidell Slinger, Alan Risher. I'm just going to stick with Slidell Slinger because I like it.
You like that nickname,
I do.
don't you?
It
That's
flows
pretty good.
really
It's
well.
not bad.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
you
not
like that.
bad.
I could tell you like that name.
Yeah. So, Alan, you've been great so far. I want to test your knowledge a little bit more so far. Remember,
So far, got 30 more minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you, all right. Anyway, so Kyler Murray, he declares for the NFL draft now. He's a dual sport athlete. Also plays baseball. A lot of people thought he was going to stay going with the MLB for the Oakland A's. Oh, okay, so maybe he'll be like a Bo Jackson. Yeah. What does he need to do? So since he declared for the NFL draft, does that mean he's 100% NFL, or can he still do the MLB thing?
I think he could probably still do the MLB thing. I think the Oakland A's are probably crying in their coffee this morning, knowing that he declared for the draft, because I think they've actually chunked up about $4.6 million already and gave him, like an incentive bonus to, hey, come play baseball with us, because I think he was the third overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft. So I don't think Kyler Murray really thought he was going to have this kind of success at Oklahoma. I mean, I thought he was going to be a good college quarterback probably, but to go back-to-back with Baker Mayfield to win the Heisman Trophy with the system they've got at Oklahoma, he's only 5'9", remember, okay? There hasn't been that many great 5'9" quarterbacks in the NFL, especially this day and age with the guys getting bigger and stronger and everything else. So can he make it? I don't know. I'm sure he'd be an effective quarterback in the NFL, but is he going to be a franchise quarterback where somebody's going to build their franchise around him? I'd have a hard time believing that, but who knows? The world changes. So he's fast. He throws it pretty good, but I had a hard enough time seeing over these big guys at 6'3". 5'9" is a stretch.
Well, now, how tall is Drew Brees? Because Drew Brees is a shorter guy, too. I think he might be just at 6 foot, maybe.
He's right, probably about an eighth of an inch under 6 foot, between 5'11" and 6 foot. But Drew Brees is a phenomenal football player, okay, and he's got some instincts and some intangibles about him that have made him probably one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time. So to compare Kyler Murray to Drew Brees at this point is a stretch that we don't even want to go there, because that's a difficult thing. There's been an awful lot of guys come out that won the Heisman Trophy playing quarterback that have been #1 draft choices that have been the biggest busts you ever seen in the NFL. So it's going to be risky for somebody to take him, because that offense and that Big 12 that he played in that plays Swiss cheese defense, it's going to be tough for him to make it, I think.
I can think of a quarterback huge bust, but I don't know if I should say it. I'll just say it anyways. Well, Johnny Manziel. What happened to Money Manziel? What happened?
Well, again, that boils down to more of a personal issue, some of his personality traits and that kind of thing. Let's say Kyler Murray is a consummate teammate, model citizen, the whole deal. Can he still make it? I don't know. The jury's still out. The NFL is a whole different world than playing in the Big 12. Trust me.
So you would say maybe he's got a better shot at the MLB then?
I think the kid, I think he played shortstop in college, and he's been a stud baseball player. It's a tough call. Baseball is not as strenuous on the body as the NFL is, and you're going to get hit a bunch and but the season's a little shorter. He might have an opportunity to maybe make a little more money than he would playing baseball because he's going to have to go into the minor leagues and he's going to have to fight his way and prove that he can get to the major leagues. So if you go directly right into NFL, he might have a better shot of getting to the big show real quick and see what happens, you know.
Well, it should be an interesting story, and we'll see how that kind of plays out later on down the road. Okay, let's switch back to NFL. So the Saints are finally going back to the NFC Championship. They wanted to last year. They didn't with that horrible Minnesota game. We're not even going to talk about that right now. But in the Dome. Now, the Dome, I think, the noise in the Dome last weekend was so loud. They said it was as loud, I guess, as if you were standing next to a thunder strike. When a thunder strike begins, it's that loud. It can actually damage your ears. I don't know if any Saints fans came out with damaged hearing after that game, but they said it was the loudest, one of the loudest games. Actually, I think Mark Ingram said that it was one of the loudest games he had ever been to in the Dome. How big of a factor is the noise when you're playing in the Dome and the fan base?
Well, I think it's a pretty big factor. I mean, when you get down on the field, though, I mean, all that stuff's kind of blocked out. I mean, you're only talking to 11 guys, 10 other guys as a quarterback, you know, within a 15, 20, 25 yard area on the field. And yeah, it can get a little bit intimidating, but trust me, these guys have been in big games all their lives in college and the pros, and the noise can be a factor as far as communication goes, but to actually have an effect on your performance is probably not really that big a deal. It's probably more blown out of proportion, but it is loud in there. It is the friendly confines for the Saints, and they do play well in the Superdome. And over the course of Sean Payton and Drew Brees' playoff history, they hadn't done very well on the road, but they've done really well in that Superdome. So I think it's going to be tough for the Rams to beat the Saints this week. I mean, the Saints beat them earlier in the Dome, and it might be the same sort of thing.
I don't know what to expect yet coming up. The Eagles they used a silent count. They also practiced in an indoor facility with all the volume turned up. Do you think that's maybe something the Rams might do going into this game, trying to crank the noise up, maybe practice in an indoor facility? What are they going to use a silent count? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, everybody's in the shotgun these days. You know, back when I was playing and that sort of thing, we was under the center more. But when you're in the shotgun, I mean, you know, you see a lot of these quarterbacks now clapping their hands, doing a lot of different things to create a noise in order for the center. And if you even saw the Eagles' right guard the other day, he was actually looking in the back of the backfield, and then he would tap the center to let him know that Foles was ready to get the ball. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to do this: hand signals, voice signals, all sorts of different kind of communications. I'm sure they're working on a lot of things because the Superdome being an enclosed stadium is going to be a loud situation. The Saints fans will be really fired up to get back to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so those tickets. So right now for the NFC Championship in the Dome, the tickets are sold out. Sold out. And I'm saying in quotation because you can still get tickets. Mm-hmm. Now, the cheapest ticket I think going is $300, and you're in the terrace.
Yeah.
But then you try to move closer, they get real expensive. Are you going to spend any money going to the game this weekend?
No, I'm a HD TV guy, Kate. My days of spending big money to go see a professional football game are over, unfortunately.
Now, do you think this weekend is going to be the weekend that the Dome is literally at its loudest?
It's got to be. I mean, it's been, 9 years since the Saints had been in this position to go to the Super Bowl. And, you know, I saw a stat the other day I thought was really amazing. They were the number one seed in 2009. Their record was 13-3, just as it is this year. And the 3 games they lost were to the same 3 teams that they lost in 2009. Now, are you going to tell me that we're going to go against that kind of karma? The Saints are going to win the Super Bowl again. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This happens every 9 years, it looks like. It's craziness. I mean, think about that, the odds of that happening.
Well, it's interesting that you pointed that out because actually on some previous shows, we had a graphic showing, and I don't know if they have it here now or not, but showing that same exact thing. Yeah, right here. So they lost to Dallas, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. 13-3. Then I like at the end, Super Bowl question mark. Now we hope that says yes for
It's
this
gonna be
season.
a yes.
They better say Super Bowl 2019, yes. Yes.
I mean, this is too good of a story not for it to be a yes. I mean, the coincidence of this happening that Dallas, Tampa, and Carolina beat the Saints 9 years ago and they were still the number one seed. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. So I think there's a great chance they go to the Super Bowl. I really do.
Well, I really hope that's true, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little nervous because this LA Rams team coming in, and it's even weird calling them the LA Rams, but they've got a young coach, Sean McVay, who's done an incredible job so far since he's been an NFL head coach. They've got Jared Goff, but then they've got a guy like CJ Anderson, who's a recent addition to the team, already racked up about 400-plus yards since he's been with the Rams. Actually, I added CJ Anderson to my fantasy team. He's one of the reasons that I won my fantasy football league this year. Thank you very much.
Smart move.
It was a very smart move when Todd Gurley was out. Now Todd Gurley is back. So now we've got, and so splitting runs with Todd Gurley, he got the 400-plus yards. So now they've got Todd Gurley and they've got CJ Anderson. When the Rams were playing the Saints back in the regular season, they didn't have Anderson. So I like to kind of call him a two-headed monster. I actually call Kamara and Ingram the two-headed monster for the Saints. But what are these two different two-headed monsters? What are we going to do having CJ Anderson and Todd Gurley?
Well, you know, good running backs have a hard time running through holes that are clogged up, okay? So, I mean, Gurley didn't do a whole heck of a lot against the Saints the first time around. But you know, C.J. Anderson's a quality running back, but let's not jump too far ahead here. I don't think it's a double-barreled, double-headed running phenom tandem that's going to give the Saints a whole lot of trouble. The Saints defense has been too good all year. Philadelphia didn't run the ball hardly at all on them on Sunday, and they hadn't really run it all year very much. But if for some reason that the Rams are able to run the football and control the clock and keep Drew Brees off the field and keep their offense on the field with a little bit of ball control, possession, it could be a different day for the Saints, but I really don't see it happening. It all sounds good in theory, but I think the Saints will hold their own and control the line of scrimmage.
I definitely hope so. I mean, I felt like in last week's game in the divisional round, once the Saints finally found their rhythm, they really got back into it. But in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, I was scared. I was scared that the Eagles were going to beat us. I even got scared at the end before Lattimore picked it from Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a very close game. I know the Eagles were, and especially with Malcolm Jenkins, used to play for the Saints.
Sure.
Darren Sproles used to play for the Saints. All guys like that coming back into the dome and playing. I know they all kind of came with a vengeance, you know, especially when they got beat 48-7 in the regular season. Now, we also beat the Rams in the regular season. Thank God for it, because now we've got home field advantage in the playoffs. But 45-35, it wasn't that big of a win up against the Rams. I mean, we've got to do something to really beat this Rams team. And I think this is a very eager Rams team, because Rams haven't been to playoffs a whole bunch in their recent history. So they're eager. They want to go to the Super Bowl.
Rams got one problem. They don't play very good defense, okay? Their defense has been, to me, a little bit underwhelming through the course of the season. They've been scoring a lot of points and winning a lot of games. I think they've played a little bit better defense the last few weeks, but for the most part, if you look at their defensive statistics, Drew Brees ate them alive a few weeks ago, and I look for more of the same. He's going to pick them apart, I believe. I don't think their personnel on the defensive side is not what I think it has been the last year or two, because I thought the Rams front four, you know, over the last couple of years have been pretty good. They were rushing the passer, but they haven't shown that to me in the last 6 or 8 weeks.
Well, one thing I do like about the Rams is they've got a good offensive line. I know you talked about defense, but they haven't given up any sacks in the past 2 games for the Rams. Their offensive line is solid. I mean, what is our defense, or the Saints defense, going to have to do for going up against that line?
Well, they got to get a pass rush. I mean, you know, pro football is about throwing the football. I mean, the game is set up for passing now. The rules are for throwing the ball. And the only way to stop that is you've got to get in the faces of Jared Goff and Drew Brees. They become mortal when you're able to get in their face a little bit. Now, if they get protected well, they're going to pick you apart. I mean, it's just so difficult to play defense in the NFL where you can't touch wide receivers and you can't touch the quarterback and you can't touch a lot of things anymore. So if they can't get up in their face, it's going to be a long day. But I think the Saints will give them some problems.
Well, I definitely hope so. Look, guys, we need to take a quick break. We are here at Scoreboards. The address is 10655 Coursey Boulevard. They've got a big sign out front that says Scoreboards. TVs everywhere. This is definitely the place to come and watch all the games this season, for whether it's basketball, football, gymnastics, whatever you want. Then they've also, this screen behind me, it's a big TV screen. It's a huge TV screen. So this is definitely the place to come out and watch games. Also, come check out my show. So look, here at Scoreboards, come visit us. We've got to take a quick break, but we will be right back.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi folks, Clarence Buggs here. Coach Roger Cador would take the time to tell you how to catch our brand new show, The Roger Cador Show, but as you can see, he's kind of busy right now out at scoreboards. Baton Rouge's newest sports grill with food that is absolutely amazing. Catch the show 8 o'clock Tuesday nights, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays and on Pelican Television's YouTube channel as well. You want to come out and have a great time. It's awesome, isn't it, Coach? Mm-hmm. Told you.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Welcome back. Sports Update with Kate. I'm your host, Kate Adams. We've got Alan Risher, former NFL, USL, I can't even talk. USFL. Sorry, it's been a long day. And LSU quarterback. Alan, thank you for being with us again. All right, we were just talking Saints. I want to continue talking Saints because that's the hot topic right now. One guy we haven't actually talked about really that much yet, or I don't think at all, is Michael Thomas. He had an absolutely incredible game against the Eagles. He's had an incredible career all season, actually, but 171 yards with 12 receptions this past game. His Instagram and his Twitter name is Can't Guard Mike. I think that's perfect because the Eagles, they couldn't guard him. Yeah. They really couldn't. Now, we did talk about the Rams defense a little bit. I mean, how effective do you think the Rams defense is going to be against Michael Thomas?
I mean, he's just a tough matchup for anybody in the league. I mean, especially, with the rules of the game now where you just can't hardly get your hands on any receiver. He's a big, physical guy and can run. So if you see some of the balls he caught Sunday against the Eagles, they caught him in zone a few times. He caught up some nice crossing routes across the middle and that kind of thing. But, you don't catch the number of balls he has this year without being one of the top 3 or 4 wide receivers in the NFL. So he's wound up being a guy that we probably thought all along was going to be a pretty good football player, Kate, but I think he's brought his game to a different height, to all pro level, and he's tough to stop, really tough.
He's definitely tough to stop. I think they're going to utilize him a lot in this game up against the Rams. But one thing that I kind of think is interesting that the Saints has been doing, and they've been using Kamara and Ingram as wide receivers. Is that something that you normally see with NFL teams, or is that a newer thing to kind of use your running backs interchangeably as wide receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's all that new. I mean, I think it depends upon the skill set. I mean, obviously Kamara is a unique individual, unique football player. Ingram always caught the ball well. He caught the ball well at Alabama out of the backfield. So his whole career, he's been able to catch the football. So it's just an added dimension that if you got running backs that can run some routes, get out there individually on some linebackers on occasion and run some routes and put them out in space. And then if they can just make one guy miss, then, you're looking at a big football player. I mean, Kamara is probably one of the better football players in the league, making people miss and getting up to the next level as far as additional yards. So if they can get the football to him, they can make some plays. Now, Michael Thomas has got number 9 throwing the football to him. That helps, because if Michael Thomas was on, let's say, the Arizona Cardinals, he would not be the same receiver. So let's understand, 9 makes Thomas look great, and Thomas makes 9 look great.
Okay, I like that you brought that up, actually, because I was actually going to ask you something about that. So it seems like Drew Brees is able to make guys who might not be all that great look really great. Is that Drew Brees doing it, or are these players just improving as we move on down the line?
Well, if you look through the course of history, great players always make the players around them great. I mean, great basketball players or individuals, yes, but they make everybody else on the team look great. Great quarterbacks. You got to talk about Tom Brady when you talk about Drew Brees. We can't even hardly name any of the receivers on New England's team jointly over the last 5 to 10 years. They have no all-pro receivers. They have nobody like Michael Thomas. But yet, they're back in the AFC Championship game again. You know why? Because number 12 is throwing the football. Number 9 is throwing the football for the Saints. So they make a lot of guys look a hell of a lot better than they might normally be if they were on a bad football team with a bad quarterback.
All right, well, I'm going to say I actually was really upset that the Patriots won the game. I really wanted the Chargers to win. I wanted Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees to be in a Super Bowl because I thought that would be really cool since Phillip Rivers took over for Drew Brees, and I thought that would be a great story. It did not end up happening. The Chargers actually got beat pretty bad.
Blown out the stadium.
Blown out the stadium. 8th straight AFC championship for the New England Patriots with Tom Brady. I mean, how do you go 8 straight times?
We don't appreciate right now, even though Brady's 41 years old, the greatness of the period of time of him and Belichick being together over the last 16, 18 years. I mean, the run they have put together will never be repeated again, ever, okay? So you have to just sit back and enjoy the greatness of Tom Brady and Belichick because Brady makes Edelman look great. He makes Hogan look like a great receiver. Nobody's ever heard of these guys, okay? But yet they continue to win football games and they win big games, and it wouldn't surprise me that they go to Kansas City and win this game on Sunday.
Talking about Kansas City, supposed to be one of the coldest games ever. The coldest game that they have recorded in history is 1 degree. They said it might get below 0. What is it? Have you ever played in an environment like that, super freezing conditions? How does that affect the players?
Well, I know how it feels sitting on the bench. I didn't actually play, but I was on the roster for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We played in Green Bay in '85 in the Snow Bowl. Even the patrons in Green Bay didn't come out for the game. There was only about 28,000 people. The place was always sold out, Kate. It was a blizzard. It was in the low teens. The wind was blowing 15, 20 miles an hour. And that was one of the coldest days that I can remember. And actually me sitting over there with a parka on, trying to stay warm next to the heater because I knew I wasn't going in the football game, but that was a cold day. So if it's going to be that cold in Kansas City, advantage Patriots and Tom Brady. I just think their experience being in all kind of weather. Patrick Mahomes, not so much. This is going to be a big game for him. We'll see how he responds in this kind of football game.
That's true because Brees has played in colder conditions. I think I was looking up his stat. He's at least played in 4 degree weather, which is pretty close to below 0 or 1 degree.
Yeah.
Now Mahomes, he's a Texas guy. You know, he's not used to playing in these cold conditions. Now Mahomes, whoa, what an incredible season that guy has had.
Unbelievable.
I mean, unbelievable. Do you think that he can do it? We've got young quarterback up against old quarterback.
You know what? I think these young guys have a kind of a carefree attitude. I think back in in the day, if you were young, you felt like you had to earn your stripes and all this kind of stuff. These young quarterbacks and some of these guys coming into the league, Kate, are just lighting it on fire right away, like they're supposed to be there. And he's one of them for sure. He might be the MVP in the league this year. It'd be an amazing story if he is. But he's got a shooter's chance, as they say. You know, I mean, he's got a chance. He's a gunslinger. You know, he's going to throw it all over the place.
Well, talking about he might be the MVP, another guy that we all know who also might be the MVP, Drew Brees. But do you think that, he sat out for the Panthers game. He had an interception last game on the first drive of the game. I mean, are those things going to be a factor? Because to me, when you want to be the MVP, you really are the most valuable player to your team. So what would the Saints be without Brees? You know, I think the Chiefs could still probably be a successful team without Mahomes. Maybe not. But
No.
what would the Saints be without Brees? Who do you think in that battle between Mahomes and Brees really has a shot at it?
See, unfortunately, these MVP trophies and all this stuff is the flavor of the day. We have grown to know the consistency of Drew Brees. So the expectations is he's going to be great every year. And whether or not he's the MVP or not, but when you get a guy like Mahomes comes along out of the blue, nobody expected this kind of season out of this guy, and the Chiefs now being the number 1 seed in the AFC Championship game, he's probably going to be your MVP. Doesn't say Brees doesn't deserve it, but again, the new flavor in town this year is Patrick Mahomes.
Well, Brees has never got it, and I'm also a Saints person. So yeah, it is pitiful because he's, like you said, he's probably one of the greatest of all time. So the fact that he's never been able to get regular season MVP is absolutely insane.
I promise you, he'll trade not getting the MVP to win the Super Bowl.
I agree with that. So let's talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. If the Saints can make it, I want to talk some numbers, what the payout is for going to some of these championship games. So wild card, in the wild card, the division winner gets $28,000. Now, if you go to the divisional playoffs, which was last weekend, $28,000 for each player. This isn't, just a team as a whole. Conference championship this upcoming weekend for the Saints, $51,000. You make it to the Super Bowl, you got $112,000. Now, I'm not going to sit here and do all the math, but one of the motivating factors that Sean Payton tried to use was he rolled in the Lombardi Trophy, a Super Bowl ring, and $201,000 into the Saints locker room and said, hey, and this was before last week, he said, you want this? Win 3 blank, I'm not going to say the word, games. Is that a huge motivating factor right there?
Well, a couple $100,000 is still a lot of money, but really it's the trophy. It's being on a Super Bowl winning football team. Not many players ever get a chance to even think about that, okay? I mean, I was on some bad pro football teams, 2-14 Tampa Bay Bucks, 4-11-1 Green Bay Packers. I mean, I was on some bad football teams, so it ain't no fun in the locker room. So when you're winning, you get a chance to go to the Super Bowl. That's what your career is built around. Yeah, a couple $100,000 is nice, but the money these guys making now, that's chicken feed as it relates to a lot of these guys' salaries. Chicken feed.
Well, look, I wouldn't mind some of that chicken feed for myself. I'm not telling you that. All right, I want to ask you, do you got a prediction for Saints-Rams?
Yep, the Saints are going to win in the Superdome. They're going to win by 10. They're going to cover, they hadn't covered the spread in a while. They're going to cover the spread. I think they're 3.5-point favorites. Remember where you heard it from Risher to Bookie. They're going to cover the line this week and go to the Super Bowl.
All right, Patriots, Chiefs, real quick.
I think Pat Mahomes is 1 year away. Tom Brady and the Patriots go in there and win the game by a field goal. It's going to be the Saints and the Patriots, Brady versus Brees in the Super Bowl.
Well, wouldn't that be something? Brady versus Brees. I don't know if I want. I would take a Brady Brees. How
would that be? 2 40-year-olds playing quarterback in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl. It would be great.
Unbelievable.
All right, well, talking about running out of time, as far as age, we're running out of time on this show. So thank you so much to my producer, Caleb St. Germain. Thank you, Alan Risher, so much. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. Marty Campbell for counting us down and getting us all situated here. And Alan Trailer, Tommy Chrysane, everybody here at Pelican Broadcasting. Come see us next week. We'll see you.